Hey everyone, I hope you're all doing amazing. With that said, I have some very creepy internet stories for you all to listen to. You never know what's on there. Well, with that said, I hope you all enjoy. 9 years ago, I had met a person that to this day I still wish I never did. I was an isolated, bullied, and depressed 8th grader, with the added state of being plus-sized kid in a sports-centric town. So basically, I was beaten and ridiculed on a daily basis. I couldn't make any friends with my new classmates. All of my old friends from elementary school I got were placed in different classes, and nobody was in the same after school groups as me anymore. We were also all in a scout group, but that disbanded before I got into middle school. I was also lonely that if someone talked to me without picking on me, it made me happy. I had a Google Plus account, the only social media I could access at school, that I kept hidden from my parents, that I would use to check out my favorite fandoms and hopefully use to make some new friends. One day I was on Google Plus in the computer lab, and I had commented under a piece of fan art of a character I liked. The person who made the post had replied to me not even a minute later. I remember getting very excited seeing that notification, my heart swelling up in excitement. The two of us spent the next 10 minutes of my class talking to each other in the comments section. We ended up replying as much. We flooded a good portion of the comments with our talk. After I had to change classes, I logged back in on one of the Chromebooks we had stored in the back of the class, and saw that she actually messaged me. Her name was Haley. At least, she told me that was her name. But years later, I'm not as sure if it was actually her name. In the message I got, Haley told me she was 2 years older than me, and that we had a lot of things in common. I spent the rest of the school day on my phone, not giving a damn of anything to do in my classes. We talked for the next week, in our DMs, until she suggested that we message each other in a private chat room. Later that day, we made a private chat on an online messaging site, and in our first conversation, we had first talked on messages. Then Haley asked if we could also do a voice call. I told her I wasn't sure, but she told me it was the only thing to better hold a conversation with me. And eventually, after she asked me multiple times, I gave in. After an hour of us talking, she then suggested we video chat. I agreed, both to make sure she was actually my age, but also to put a name to the face. Haley turned on her camera and she did look in the same age range as me. I don't know why, but that fact haunts me more than anything else. The fact that she looked so close to my age, plus that she easily smiled and spoke so friendly to me, made me feel that I had nothing to be afraid of. So that led me to quickly believe that I could trust her. We ended up talking for hours after, with me practically on cloud 9 the whole entire time. In the beginning of our little friendship, things were going alright. We told each other about our schools, what we liked, and gushing over our favorite series we liked. We talked almost every day, and stayed up late, talking nearly all night. We even exchanged a couple of silly pictures of ourselves and memes back and forth a lot. After we had been talking for about 6 months, Haley asked me if we'd like to meet as friends. At first, I was ecstatic, and the thought of having more friends made me so excited. I didn't think twice before saying yes. Haley invites me in, and I go to meet her other friends. I had a completely different feeling about these people compared to what I felt with Haley. Something made me feel unsafe in that chat room, even though they all seemed nice and that Haley reassured me I could trust them. It felt like my instincts were trying to warn me, but I wasn't sure what about, so I ignored it. Most of them were much older than me. In a chat with her main friends, there were 6 other people. Most of them were 18 to 19, but there were 2 guys that I distinctly remember being in their 20s. I asked how they all met, and they told me they all met either on social media sites or from real life, but wouldn't answer any more of my questions. I was a bit naive, so all the red flags that were popping up went completely over my head. From constant loud talking so frankly overlapping each other, the calls I were on with them were pure chaos. The messages were even worse because they would frequently drop cuss words and topics that should not be brought up with someone who was still a minor. I tried building genuine connections with them, but they all acted dismissive to me and acted like I was annoying whenever I tried to talk in a conversation. Needless to say, I did not like them very much. Haley, on the other hand, was all about them. She would pull the exact same habits, jokes, dirty words, and all of that with the others. They could say something super problematic, but she would be laughing right along with them. I was shocked by this version of Haley, because she never acted like this with me. When it was just the two of us, we still talked a bunch, but slowly. She was talking to her other friends more than she was with me. At first I thought it was fine, but the more she ignored my messages or didn't pick up my calls, the more I got bothered. When I called to confront Haley about blowing me off, she went ballistic on me, saying that I was being selfish and that I don't want to talk to her other friends because I was jealous. I explained that wasn't true, but she wouldn't listen, and then hung up on me. Haley then ghosted me for almost a month, leaving me worried and upset over what happened. When she started talking to me again, I was so emotionally distraught. I was crying on our first call and apologizing for what I said the last time we talked. She told me it was fine, she just needed more time alone, and that she would talk to me a bit more in the coming future. And indeed she did, although not what I thought she would. Haley began to tell me she had depression, and that was the reason she wouldn't talk to me for a month. I didn't judge her about it, and said whatever she needed to talk about she could come to me. This led to her trauma dumping on me nearly every day, talking about how shitty her home life was and how bad her relationship was with her mom and how much she hated herself. I was there to offer an ear and some kind words whenever Haley called or messaged me about it. This quickly became part of our routine, almost daily in the middle of us having any kind of conversation. She'd begin complaining about anything happening during her day. If not that, it would be that about how ugly she thought she was, or how much her life sucked and wanted to end things. The last one freaked me out the most. I was worried about her because we live in different states and I couldn't help her in person. Every time she would become self-depreciating, I would say otherwise, giving her compliments and words of affirmation. For so long my throat ached and felt raw. And then, just as fast as she bring it up, she dropped that conversation, and we talked like we did before. Haley also began calling for long periods of time and messaging me late into the night. Phone calls would stretch for hours at a time, and her texts would come into 3 or 4 in the morning. The thing was, it was mainly her talking now. Every phone call, she'd take over the conversation. If I didn't message her quickly enough, she'd spam multiple texts back to back, faster than I can read them. I would try to end them myself, but every time I would try, Haley would chastise me for wanting to leave our conversation when not long ago I wanted to have her attention. She basically guilt-tripped me back into talking to her, and it worked. Even if I lost interest in our talks or didn't want her to message me during class, I would still let her talk and reply. At least I still had her attention, and she still wanted to talk to me. This all went on in a cycle for 2 years, and it left me feeling more anxious and exhausted than anything ever else did. It felt like we had nothing in common anymore, and saying she either ghosted me for a week or spent the entire weekend texting me nonstop. The topics of her self-worth have always gotten worse, and they escalated to her messaging me goodbye or I can't live like this anymore, without responding to any of my following messages or calls. Alongside of that, she would send me pictures of her marking herself and telling me about how it felt to do it. A sight of those messages would send me into panic attacks, and every time I would panic and not message her after, I would be sent into tears. Not only that, the group chat with her other friends got worse. Arguments broke out frequently, drama and gossip spread like an oil spill, and it led to people being unblocked almost every few days. I hated talking to them. They began ganging up on me in messages, and Haley was often the first one to make rude jokes about me that they would all laugh at. I began getting sick of it and would stop messaging and calling both Haley and her friends, despite her begging me to. One late night, while the group was in an argument over text, I hit my breaking point. I was tired of all the drama, and them treating me like shit all the time. So I messaged the group chat that I had enough of them and privately messaged Haley that I needed a break. Then I left both chat rooms, blocked everyone I talked to, deleted my messaging account, and deleted the site from my computer's history. Once it was all over, I felt like I had been freed from some kind of prison, and all I could do was cry, in relief and a euphoria over the whole thing being over. I later found out that all the pictures Haley had sent me were all stock images and photoshopped. I also found out from a bit of digging through her background, a lot of things didn't add up. I learned that she was actually a lot older than that she originally told me, at least 6 years older than me, meaning that when we first met when I was 14, she was about 20 years old. Many things from our interactions still haunt me, especially the pictures of her marks and her scathing self-depreciating messages for almost 3 months. I would have nightmares about Haley getting back in contact with me and what she would say or do to me. I have many better friends now, and I'm absolutely certain I will never have to hear from Haley again. But sometimes I still wonder who that woman really was and what was it about me that she was interested in. Hopefully I won't ever find out. So to Haley, if you somehow ever find this story, let's not meet again. Edit for clarification, and the fact I got tired of explaining in the comment section, the pictures she would send me when we would message each other were all pictures of her family and friends, places she claimed to have been to, and items she owned. A few weeks after I blocked Haley, I found them stored on my computer. I got curious, so I reverse image searched the pictures she sent me, and they were all stock photos. Every result I found from her picture led back to a stock photo site, with the only difference between them being that she cropped out the logo of the site from the pictures basically. I was lied to a lot. Little backstory before we begin. I'm into LARPing, and for those who don't know what it is, we basically spend the weekend in the woods dressed as medieval fantasy characters and interact with each other. I go to these events with my friends and my partner, and we meet some friends when we're there. These are all types of people at these events, but 99.9% are absolute angels. I'd yet to meet the 1%, but wish I hadn't. Before that event started, a guy, we'll call him Greg, swung by my tent while I was setting it up. My partner and friend were setting up the secondary tent up a path, and couldn't see me. There were 5 other people on my right. I had never met the guy before, but as soon as he said hi, I had a bad feeling. He was around 5'10", obese, a neckbeard, basically what would fit the description of an incel. He approaches me and asks me if I'm here alone. I say no, I'm here with people, but don't mention my partner or a friend directly. He asks me if I'm a gamer, to which I say yes. From then on, he starts rambling on Ark Survival, which is a game I personally have 3,000 plus hours on. He tells me blatantly wrong info, misnames the dinos, tells me stuff that is impossible to do in the game, even with mods, etc. And every time I correct him, I can see he looks to be getting even more annoyed. I end the conversation saying I have to go back to setting up the tent, and he leaves. Fast forward to around 10 to 11 p.m. The event has started, which means any mention of the real world, such as cars, TV, pop culture, etc., is forbidden by a rule called decorum. We're playing a campfire game with my friends and my partner, and the guy comes by to sit up with us. He sits next to me. I move over. He scoots closer. I move over. He scoots. Eventually, I get up and sit next to my friend. As we play the game, he keeps referring to the real world and to video games, so we tell him to either leave or to make an effort and speak properly. He leaves. The next day, I go up on a trail for a fake hunting and gathering resources. As I come back down towards the village in the middle of the woods with no camps I can hide in, he's there, waiting for me on the trail. He then asked me if I would like to go and get a coffee or something sometime, to which I answer no thanks. As we go down the trail, I tell him I have to collect plants for my potions, so if he can excuse me, I'll be going back to the village to leave my bow and collect my basket. I am walking fast. He follows me, grabs my arm and tells me I could come with you. You? Me, alone in the woods looking for plants. That looks like the perfect scenario. I freak out and walk very fast to the trail to the village. My neighbors see me and look very concerned. They asked if I needed help. I tell them in honesty, which is code to say, take me seriously. This isn't part of the game. That this dude is being extra creepy and following me. They take their weapons, their foam weapons, and tell him to fuck off before they carve him a new asshole. I stay with them for a few minutes before chilling with my friends. Night comes, we're having fun, stuff is happening in terms of fighting and encounters. Then at around midnight, I decide to go to the bathroom. At that point, I haven't seen the guy since around 7 p.m. As I come back from the bathroom in complete darkness, the guy jumps from a bush and pins me against a tree. He tells me he's not proud of me, that I've been leading him on, that he doesn't understand why I would hold another guy's hand and hug 3 other guys but not him. I tell him I hold my fiance's hand and I do hug my friends, but he's neither. I also tell him to stop his BS. In all honesty, to which he answers, but what if in all honesty I just want a little kiss, huh? Just a little kiss, and then you can go. I yell, no, and try to hit him to get away. My friends who were right on the other side of the bridge separating us heard me scream. They took their weapons, called upon my neighbors, and around 10 people came careening down the bridge to help. The guy let me go and turned to my rescuers, saying he was just interrogating me for information concerning the demons, our foes. My friends who have seen the guy be an asshole before tell him not to move, that they are going to get the owner of the LARP to deal with him. He tried to dissuade them, but my neighbors tell him to sit down or he'll be visiting Death's altar before he can move. I'm taken away by my fiance, who is very worried and concerned about what happened. The owner comes. I explain what happened and he takes Greg outside and to play to discuss what happened further. From what I heard, he was kindly asked not to come back for future events. Ayo Greg, my medieval stalker, let's not meet again. I hope you all enjoyed those stories. With that said, as always, stay depraved.